y'all want me to tell you what happened in there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a meeting here, obviously at the municipal building in Natchitoches, in order to be able to hear from officials from around Natchitoches Parish about their experiences in the storm, what the current needs are, what the issues are, what they think the needs are going to be down the road. And I had my GOSAP director. We brought in FEMA representatives, but we also had the National Guard Adjutant General and others. And you know, obviously the electricity is a big issue. It appears that by the end of the day Monday, 100% of the parish should be restored with electricity, which will be very helpful. You know, we think of air conditioning as just a convenience, but the fact of the matter is we've had 25 deaths related to this storm. A number of them are heat related, and so having the ability to get in an air conditioner, and especially when you're out working, because we have people who are out repairing their homes, cleaning up debris, and so I do want to urge them to be cautious. Make sure they take breaks frequently, drink plenty of fluids, and pace yourself. You know, we also had today, unfortunately, the latest confirmed death was an electrocution of an individual from here in Natchitoches Parish who was moving an RV, I believe, and it came into contact with a live wire. And then we also have carbon monoxide poisoning. So we still have about 22%, I think, of the parish without power. So there's no doubt we're going to have generators operating here for the next few days. But people need to operate those generators at least 20 feet away from their homes. They need to be in well-ventilated areas, nowhere near your crawl spaces or your doors or your windows or your vents, not in your garage and that sort of thing, because carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas, and you don't know you're going to be overcome by that. But we've had, I think, 9 individuals who've died from carbon monoxide poisoning. And then we've had a number of individuals who've been killed because they were working on a tree, or cutting tree and limbs and so forth. And then some people who've lost their lives because they were working on a roof and so forth. Only one person was killed directly by the storm itself, but we're at 25. So we do encourage people to make sure that they are cautious and that they're safety conscious when they're out there doing their work. I am very proud of the work that's being done here in Natchitoches Parish by all of the local officials. I will tell you the National Guard has been operating points of distribution here in Natchitoches Parish and distributing hundreds of thousands of MREs, bottles of water, bags of ice, tarps, and we're going to keep working with the local officials to make sure that damaged infrastructure can be repaired, but also with individuals so that their claims can be taken care of by FEMA as well. And we do encourage people to make sure that you're registering with FEMA. Go to disasterassistance.gov, fill out that registration. It's extremely important because they look at how many registrations they get from a given area, how many of those individuals are low to moderate income, how many are elderly, what insurance is available, and then they make decisions about whether certain types of assistance are going to be available. So we need people to make sure that they're registering with FEMA, and then we'll do everything at the state level to make sure that we're helping too, so that debris removal happens as quickly as possible, that it's reimbursed properly and timely, and we're going to continue to work with all the local officials here. But I'll tell you, everybody from the sheriff and the parish president, the OEP director, Mrs. Jones, and have just done tremendous work here in Natchitoches. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
You mentioned that they spoke a lot about the needs that they need to be come up and concerns. Can you tell us exactly what are some of those needs and concerns they have?
Yeah, so some of the concerns are the lack of funding that individuals have, some elderly especially on fixed income, to be able to go out and buy gas to run the generator, for example. And there is assistance available for those things, but typically it takes a while to get it to. Someone has to register with FEMA, and money can be made available for emergency needs, and it's relatively quick, but it's not instantaneous. And so trying to work through those needs, and one of the things we're going to try to do is connect individuals in that situation with faith-based and other charitable organizations so that maybe their needs can be met a little bit better until the FEMA money arrives. But we need all these individuals to make sure they're registering with FEMA, answering all the questions. And it's very important that if you're told your claim is denied, it likely isn't denied, but you need some additional documentation. And so you don't have to start all over again. Just get the additional documentation in there, get your claim approved, and then we have submitted 5 additional parishes for FEMA's consideration to turn on, so that once you register and you fill out the form correctly, if FEMA will do this, they will send out $500 right away, in addition to all the other assistance that they have available. Now, we don't have that yet for this parish, but we have made the request, and I wanted the people to know that. But regardless, we need you to fill out that registration. Yes, ma'am?
What have you taken away from Hurricane Laura and
Oh, wow.
Rita and Harvey?
Well, first of all, there is no peer among Laura. You know, this hurricane hit our state. It's the strongest storm since, they say, 1856. I don't know who was around in 1856 and how they measured storm strength and wind speed, but it's the strongest storm to ever hit. And what made it so unique is it didn't just do the damage and the devastation down on the coast. It was at hurricane strength when it passed through here in Natchitoches, when it got over into the Monroe area. We've never seen that before. And so we have more parishes that have been impacted by this storm than probably any other hurricane, and the damage is extremely significant. And we have people whose lives are upside down, and of course, if you follow the track of the hurricane, the further south you go, the worse the damage is. Unfortunately, we've got folks down in Calcasieu Parish, Cameron Parish. They're not going to have lights for another 2 or 3 weeks, maybe longer. So we're still in hurricane season. We are still in COVID-19 public health emergency, and that complicates things and makes things a little bit harder, more costly. You know, for the first time in the history of our state, we're not running congregant sheltering. And so today we have about 12,000 of our citizens who are put up in hotel rooms, which is the safe way to do it, but it's very difficult because instead of having 3 or 4 shelters open, we have 42 hotels around the state, mostly in New Orleans, but also in Shreveport and Baton Rouge, and then all the coordination associated with that, the transportation. And by the way, the buses can only hold a fraction of their normal occupancy because of the COVID as well. And then you got to get the food to those individuals. So we've got a lot going on. I'm very proud of the team we have in Louisiana. The folks at GOSEP, the National Guard has just been tremendous. But the state police, the fire marshal's office, and once I start naming names, I'm always going to leave somebody out. But the state team has been terrific. But I really want to take my hat off to all the locals, just people being good neighbors to one another. Because long before I know what somebody needs, there's somebody here on the ground who looks over across at their neighbor, and they go take care of them. And we have a lot of really good, generous, hardworking people in Louisiana, and that's what's happening across the state, especially as it relates to our faith-based community, our nonprofits, charitable organizations, just tremendous work. And it's going to be a marathon. This is not a sprint, and so it's going to be a long time before we can get it all recovered. But we're going to be here working with your officials until the very end to make sure that all the assistance that the people here are entitled to, that they get as soon as they can, and that we get as much reimbursement for that as we possibly can as well.
You mentioned money with FEMA. How much money is the state actually looking for to be getting back?
Well, we don't know. What we know right now is under the Stafford Act, there's a 75% match that comes from the federal government. 25% has to come from the state. The sheer amount of damage across the state, I have to believe that we're going to get past $700 million in total expenditures. That's our threshold to be authorized under the Stafford Act to go to a 90-10 match. And so any share from the local government, from the state, for any expenditure reimbursed by FEMA will only be 10 cents on the dollar. And so I'm encouraging all of the local governments, the cities, the parishes, to make sure that they're delivering whatever assistance their people need now. And we're going to make sure that we get the very best match rate that we can possibly get, which I think at the end of the day it'll be 90-10. And we'll make sure that we're also working to get everything reimbursed that can possibly be reimbursed as well.
Governor, in the midst of all of this going on, the LHSAA's executive director said a few days ago that he will be playing football regardless of what phase you go in as a state. What are your thoughts on that, and what's your reaction?
Well, you understand that my proclamations have never been directed at football or contact sports. And so the initial decision that was made by the High School Athletic Association to tie the commencement of football to a particular phase was made by them. It wasn't something that we directed under any circumstances. And so they've made that decision. I don't have a problem with it. You know, it's like everything else. Once you bring people into contact with one another more often, which I'm really worried about by the storm, by the way, because we have tens of thousands of people from out of state, in state. They're restoring power, they're cleaning debris, they're doing construction work, they're bringing in supplies, whatever. And we also have tens of thousands of people from Louisiana who are now scattered all over the state as well. So all this additional activity concerns me, but we're going to keep an eye on it, because we're going to continue to test as much as we can. In the next few days, we're going to go past 2 million tests administered in the state of Louisiana. We're one of the highest in the country in terms of per capita testing, which we should be, because we're the highest in the country in per capita cases. So we're going to watch it very, very carefully, but there is a way to safely play football. We also have to make sure that the spectators who go to the games are safe, and that they're socially distanced, that we wear our mask, and so forth. The same things that we've been talking about for months apply to all of this. And so just because it was not, I think it was not clear when the High School Athletic Association said they would play football when we got to phase 3, people assumed that that was in my order, and that you couldn't play in phase 1 and you couldn't play in phase 2, and that you would be able, that was always something that they had chosen to do themselves.
One last question. When we talk about the damage here, what have you seen, and what have city officials kind of told you yourself about what's actually happening?
Well, the biggest challenge they have is with electricity lines being down, and the reason they're down is because so many trees have fallen. And so it's really about debris removal, restoration of power, and then making sure that where there's damage to people's homes, to public infrastructure, that all of that gets rectified as well. But the immediate need is restoration of power, and then getting the debris so that you can safely travel the roads, and that sort of thing. And we know that that's a real challenge, because you get up into this part of the state and you just have so many trees, and they're very seldom do they encounter the kind of winds that came through with Hurricane Laura. So that's the biggest need that they identified for us. We're going to continue to work with them to make sure that they get the assistance they need. Again, should have power restored by Monday. The debris is rapidly being cleared from the roads and even from the shoulders. So I think we're going to see a lot of progress here in a very short period of time. Look, thank you all so much, and be very careful out there.